Hi! In this video, we're going to be talking about the document tools in Blackboard Ultra. If you've ever created a course in Blackboard Ultra, you know that when you hit that create function, you can create a whole lot. We've got documents, we have folders, although buyer beware, or user beware in this case. You can only go 3 folders deep in Ultra compared to Learn, where you could have folders upon folders upon folders ad nauseum. We also have exercises, discussion boards, etc. The point of this video is just to focus on the tools within the document function. And this is going to be the first in a several part series where we just highlight in these smaller videos these specific focused sections of Blackboard Ultra. So let's go ahead and hop into one of our courses here. I'm going to use the Adjunct Hub, which is currently, as of June 2026, being developed by our Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. And let's say that I want to go ahead and review some of the documents I've already created, just so that we're all on the same page as to what a document is. So in my instructional design module, I can see in this folder I have 3 documents: creating a welcoming class environment, facilitating meaningful dialogue, and engagement in online and flex courses. Let's go ahead and hop into one of these. So here in our first one, I'm not editing yet. We're just looking at the document as it appears to students. I have my header, as always. And then I've got all of my information about introducing yourself, incorporating an icebreaker, all that fun stuff. And then a video for best practices explored. So this is a document. This is what we're focusing on in this video. Again, just to make sure we're on the same page. So let's say, hypothetically, I want to create a new one. I'm going to hit this button right here. And forgive me if I'm going a little quickly. We do have a separate video that breaks down what a document is. This is more so what a document can do once you have one. So I'm going to put my title in, whatever my title is. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit content first. There are other options. I'm going to go ahead and start here. So if I hit content, it's going to default to a text box. I can do whatever I like. Let's say that I want this to be centered. I can make it centered. Let's say that I want it to be bold or underlined, or maybe I want it to be 24 size font. I typically do that for all of my titles in my documents, and I make my regular font 18. That's up to you. At the bare minimum, it should be 14 just for visibility, but I think 18 looks better on a screen. Then again, I use blue light glasses. My eyes suffer from looking at screens, so keep in mind, 14 is the minimum in terms of your font size. So we know how to do text. If you have done anything in PowerPoint, anything Microsoft Suite oriented, you know how to create text. We want to do stuff that's a little bit more advanced this time around. So let's focus on some of the things that are available in our bar here first. We've got our title, header, subheader, and paragraph. This is a title, and to make sure that we are focusing on accessibility, I am going to go ahead and just make sure it's set to title. That way, if an assisted reader is reading through this document, it will treat that as a title, and there will be an appropriate pause afterwards, as opposed to paragraph writing, which is just sentence after sentence after sentence, because it's a larger chunk of information. So I do definitely want to make sure I'm keeping track of what is what as I'm putting my document together. Another thing I want to note, since we're talking about accessibility, is this little score up here. When you are editing something in Blackboard Ultra, it will tell you what your accessibility score is. Now, right now, there's really nothing in here. We have the words text box, and that's it. But let's say that I had a photo from Unsplash, and maybe I didn't title it or give it alternative text. Then, if that were the case, 100% would go down, probably to some place in the 70s, and then it would decrease with the more information or more errors the embedded tool was noticing. So let's go ahead and add a few things in here, and then we'll check our accessibility to make sure everything is all good. So we've got our title. We're familiar with text. We know how to move these things around. Let's look at a couple other options. One that I like tentatively is this function to be able to create or edit a table in Blackboard. Again, if you've used Microsoft Word, or more importantly, in this case, Google Docs, you know how to put a table into a document. Let's say that I want just a basic, like, 4x4. I'm going to go ahead and hit those boxes, and it will make that table for me. I've done this in my classes. I do this more often in like the New Faculty Academy for new instructors, but this is a really great way to explain how a rubric is created, for example. And just so that you can see what this looks like in a completed version, here is our New Faculty Academy. Here is our section on creating and using rubrics, and you can see where I created this table, and I steadily filled it out as I walked new faculty through how to put together a rubric. So this is what the tables look like once they've been finished, or mostly finished, as we're filling this out for an example. So tables are great, and the good news is all you have to do is type within the boxes, right? Super, super simple. So as long as you are familiar with utilizing tables in Google Docs, Microsoft Word, you are totally fine utilizing this table here. Let's say that you create your table and you need to add a header row. We can do that. And now this upper row is going to be our header row. Let's say that I want to add a row to the left. I can hit that button, ta-da, there it is. To the right, there it is. And then, of course, I can delete one if I would like to. If I want to highlight it, I can delete it. I can add above. I can add below. Again, very, very similar to anything that you have seen in Google Docs, right? So that is our table function. I am going to go ahead and get rid of my table. And I just hit my delete button to get rid of that. Super easy. I can also, too, go to the space below the table and then hit backspace to get rid of it. So that is our table function. This is our alignment. You saw this a moment ago. Again, very similar to standard word processors. We've got left, center, right, and justified. And then, of course, we can add a list if we like. So at this point, let's say that I have blah. If I put in number 1, it's going to automatically default to it being a list. Let's say that I am not crazy about it being a numbered list. I really would like for this to be a bullet list instead. I can hit that bullet function. Now it's going to be a bulleted list instead, which is great. Now, the other option we have are line height options. And if we're looking at 1.5, that's going to be close to your standard when you initially open up Microsoft Word. Let's say that we want a little bit more space between our items here. Let me go ahead and add 2 words here. We'll make them bigger, just so that they're a little bit easier to see. There we go. All right, let's say that I want double spaced instead. Now there's a little bit of extra space between those 2 bullet points, gives the text a little bit more space to breathe. Again, if somebody's using an assisted reader, if it's in a bulleted list, it's going to read it as though it's in a bulleted list. But if you have somebody that's just kind of staring at the screen and they're trying to parse their way through itty bitty text, having that extra space between those bulleted points really, really helps a lot. All right, I'm going to get rid of my list here. All right, next we have the undo button. Let's say that you accidentally delete something. No worries, just hit that undo button. You can see I can bring back my list just fine if I need to. All right. The next button we have is clear formatting. So if I want to hit that, I can get rid of any additional formatting that has been part of my document. And then we get to what I think are the fun options of the document. And those are your links. Let's say you want to put in a hyperlink for something. And let's say that I want to do this here. So I want to put my link here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight whatever needs to be hyperlinked, wherever it is I'm putting my link in. I'm going to hit this link button, and then all I have to do is copy in my URL from wherever it is I'm hyperlinking. So super, super easy. But what about files? Now, when we're thinking about files, again, keep in mind, we want to be sparing with our PDFs, right? But let's say that you want to put a Word document into your document here on Blackboard. All right, we're going to go ahead and click here on our attachment button. You can see that I have been working with images here recently, but we want to go to documents. And let's say hypothetically, this is the Word document that I want. All right, so when you are uploading a Word document or a PDF, but again, we're trying to steer away from those, you are going to get an option to include a display name. I'm typically pretty good at naming my files, but anytime I am putting in a Word document, I do actually give it its actual name. I take out the .docx. It just makes it easier for students to read it, and it's a little bit nicer to look at as well. So we have the display name. We want to make sure we hit view and download. If they can view it, they can read it in the actual browser, but they can also download it outright. We want to make sure they can do both. And I'm going to hit save. And it's going to pop right up here. Now, I clicked this section above my title, which is why it's up here. If you had clicked down here, it would be down here. But super simple. Now, if I want, to see what students will see, they are going to click on that document and they will be able to read it here, just like I mentioned, in the actual browser, which is great if they are interested in reading about program assessment reports, but they can also hit these 3 little dots and download it. So file attachments are super, super easy to do. I'm gonna go ahead and take that out of there. All right. Apologies for so much clicking. Let's say that we want to include an image instead of a Word document. I'm gonna hit image, upload. I'm going to go to my downloads. I use a lot from Unsplash, but I also take a lot of screenshots from, in this case, Blackboard for other tutorials. So let's say this is the one that I want. When it comes to images, very similar to Word documents, we want to make sure that, one, we have a display name that makes sense, but also that we have alternative text. Again, if someone is using an assisted reader, if someone cannot see very well and they need a little bit of assistance when they are viewing images on a computer like this, then having that alternative text helps to explain what is there. So in this case, the good thing about Blackboard Ultra is that whatever is in your display name does kind of default to ending up in your alternative text. My pro tip there is just be very clear when you are taking your screenshots of your computer about what the screenshot is. That makes the alternative text a little bit easier to write. They do have a learn how to describe an image function here in Blackboard if you want it, but this is pretty simple, right? It is the YouTube button in the Blackboard Ultra's tool menu. All right, and there it is. Super simple, very easy to include. Okay. Next, we have insert content. So we've got a couple different options here, and there are 2 specifically that I want to focus on because I do want to make sure that 1, this video is fairly short, and that 2, you have an opportunity to explore on your own as well. So we're going to go ahead and look at YouTube video first. You have the option to embed YouTube videos here into Blackboard, and you can do so one of 2 ways. The first of which is to just use the YouTube function that is available here in Blackboard Ultra. So let's say that, hypothetically, I want to pull something from the New Faculty Academy and CETL, Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, YouTube channel, and maybe I want this one right here. I can get my link, or in the case of, let's say that you are looking at a video and you want to, let's say something like this, right? Maybe it's not a video that you own, but you do still want to include it. You can also pull your link from up here. So either option is totally fine. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that link, and then I'm going to bring it over and hit enter. And then there it is. It searched through YouTube, found the video. All I have to do is select it, hit insert, and there it is, there in Blackboard Ultra. There is another way to do this though. One way, or one thing that I want to note too, and this is especially important, is that if you are creating videos for a YouTube channel, but your videos are unlisted because you only want people with the link to watch them, that's very common for instructors, you will need to embed your video instead. And the good news is this is also super easy. So I'm going to go back to my YouTube page. I'm going to hit the share button, and I'm going to hit embed. And that is going to give you this iframe embed code here. I am going to hit copy. I'm going to go back to Blackboard, go to the embed media option, include my URL, and then I'm going to put my title here. And I'm going to hit insert, and there it is. There is that video. And again, that would work for an unlisted video. So if you are looking for your unlisted video in the YouTube option and you were like, oh, where is it? I know it. I know it's here. You need the embed function. And again, the good news is YouTube just provides that code stuff for you. So very, very easy to use, super user intuitive. So that's everything in your bar that I'm going to be talking about here. But there are a couple other things I want to focus on up here and in this box around our text box. So, did you know that in Blackboard Ultra, you can actually create columns with your boxes? So for instance, if I want to have 2, I can drag one over here, drag one over here, and then if I want them to be side to side, I just need to hit these 6 little buttons, move to row above, and there we go. We have 2 different boxes. Maybe one of these boxes is for tips and the other is for FAQs, frequently asked questions. If I want to show that, I can hit the little tip button. Now I have a little light bulb. And if this is FAQs, I can make that a little question box. These are super, super eye-catching. Again, just to kind of proof of concept, show you what these look like in a more completed version of a Blackboard document. Here in the Adjunct Hub, we have an entire section dedicated to student services. And in addition to having the contact information and these hyperlinks, we also have different columns that are a bit more dynamic. They include images, we've got documents, we've got hyperlinks, all kinds of fun stuff. So all of that is embedded there. We can see this too in the tutoring services section, where you can create those individual boxes and utilize these outlines here that are very eye-catching. And at this stage of the game, right, in terms of education, that eye-catching element, making your documents dynamic, is super helpful. So being able to do that really, really helps to make sure that you are creating the best possible visual experience for your students. All right. We also, as we are considering these different options when we're looking at our text box, right, in our color palette, you can see the question, you can see tips. If you want key points, it can turn purple and have this little push pin. And you can also do a next steps option. I tend to use these at the bottom of my documents when students need to do a reading or go take an exam. You can utilize this box here. And then finally, let's say that I hate this box. I want it gone. I can hit delete. And that's it. Super, super simple. You'll note here too, we can also embed HTML from our main function outside of content. So let's say that I want to come back to my iframe, include it. There is my HTML. Right? So I can include it in a separate box if I want to just do it with this button instead. You can input a knowledge check. A knowledge check is a really great way to see whether or not students comprehended what you assigned in a reading or in a video, and you can generate questions here that will then pop up in the document, just like a Microsoft form, which is a super fun tool. We can also upload files outright. You can do a cloud upload, you can add an image, you can add a divider if you would like to do so. So you don't have to, but now I have this little divider here. And if you're wondering, can I change the size? You bet you can. You can do so many fun different things just within a document, which really helps to break down a lot of those folders that were used in Blackboard Ultra. This way, we focus on a little bit less stuff and get more bang for our buck in one specific location. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.